Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Adrian and I am a student nurse at Chamberlain University. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about NR 325 or Adult Health 2. I made a video last about Adult Health 1. And so today this video is kind of a continuation of Adult Health 2. Plus I'm going to be talking about NPIA because Adult Health 2 is when you start doing NPIAs. So I'll explain more about that later on in the video. But today's video I'm going to be talking about NR 325. NR 325 is a continuation of NR 324 or Adult Health 1. I mean, Adult Health 1 and 2, it's basically the same. You're just Adult Health 2, you're covering different units and different topics in different weeks. So really overall, Adult Health 2 is pretty much the same as Adult Health 1. Adult Health 1 and 2, I had the same professor for both. And that's something that, I mean, of course, it's up 100% up to you. But if your professor is good, if you like your professor, I recommend keeping both for the same session. Like for both sessions, I mean. So like if you like your professor, then obviously like you could take them again. I know some people, they decided to switch professors for Adult Health 2, and that's fine. Whatever works for you, right? I liked my professor, so I had her for Adult Health 1 and 2, and I feel like that kind of helps because, you know, you kind of get used to your teacher and how they teach, and so you go into the next session into Adult Health 2 and you kind of know what to expect and what to anticipate. So that helps, right? I would say the biggest difference for me in Adult Health 2 was NPIA, which I will talk about. So for NPIA, don't ask me what it stands for because I don't remember, to be honest, what NPIA stands for. But what NPIA basically is NPIA is basically like a demonstration that you have to do in the sim lab on campus. So it's kind of like when you do fundamental skills and you have to demonstrate a skill in front of your professor. It's kind of like that, except you have an appointment that they give you. You are automatically assigned to an appointment to do your NPIA demonstration before the session begins. And so they send you that information like before the session begins, right? So for me and my luck, my NPIA demonstration was scheduled for week 2. So mine was like week 2, like just week 1, like the session began, like, and I had to prepare as much as I could for week 2 because my NPIA was week 2. Like, I think mine's was, I believe it was Wednesday. It was Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't exactly remember, but like week 2, and it was like, just, I only had like 2 days and that was it. Like 1 week and a few days to prepare, plus the weekend, you know. I was really nervous, so I was like trying to prepare as much as I could and just doing everything. I was going to open lab and practicing all my skills. So that's the thing that I want to talk about with NPIA. So the first NPIA that you do, basically the simulation or the scenario that you have to demonstrate is you are taking care of a patient. This patient has some disease or injury, right? You get report from the faculty member that is watching you demonstrate. So the faculty member is basically like the nurse that's, you know, coming off of the shift. And so they're giving you a report. You get report and you're writing down whatever information that is pertinent to the patient and the situation. And before NPIA, so I have to backtrack a little bit. So once you get to your appointment for your NPIA, you have to select from a cup like what skill you're gonna perform. So you don't know what skill you're gonna have or what skill you're gonna do until you get there. And so the 3 skills is trach suctioning, wound care, and Foley catheter. So when you show up to NPIA, you don't know which one you're gonna do, so you have to prepare for all of them. And you have to choose, or you have to pick from a cup, and whichever one you get, that's what you get. You have to perform it there. You can't choose any other one, and that's it, it's final, right? And so the first week 1, I was in open lab like every day that I could go, and I was practicing all of my skills, and everybody was in open lab. So on your campus, you need to make sure you get your schedule to know when is open lab open so that you can go. And go whenever you can, like, you know. And on my campus, I don't know about every campus, but my campus, they had a box that you could rent. Like, when I say rent, I mean like that you could check out and bring home. And it's a box that contains like a vagina so that you could practice Foley. It comes with like a little wound so that you can practice wound care, and a bunch of like some other stuff in this box. And so you check it out, you sign out with the box, and you can take it home, and you have to bring it back when you're done. And they check you off. So that's what I did. I went to open lab whenever I could. I rented a box, and then I was practicing at home with my own kits, right? So that's what I was doing. And so when it came time for me to go do my NPIA, I went to my appointment. And so the whole process of an NPIA, you have like 30 minutes. And within those 30 minutes, you have to look at the patient's chart. And you have to make sure you read everything carefully. During those 30 minutes, you have to do your rapid head-to-toe assessment. You have to communicate with the patient. You also have to look around the room, and if anything is out of order, you kind of have to put things in order and kind of do your safety assessment. Like, you know, if the bed is too high, or if the side rails are up, or some, you know, stuff like that. Just your general safety, you have to do that as well. You have to administer a medication based on the chart. And you have to do your 6 rights of medication administration. So you kind of have to go through those and kind of verbalize what you're doing. Like, okay, I'm giving this med this amount for this reason. You have to make sure you double check the patient's name and date of birth, right? Before you give the med. All of those things. And then you administer the med according to what it says in the chart, right? Now, they're gonna tell you at the beginning that there's in the sim lab, there's a little place that you go where you have all of your supplies. So depending on what skill you have to perform, you have to, you know, like leave the room to go get the supplies that you need and then come back. So if you leave the room and come back, you know, always make sure you re-verify the name and date of birth of the patient. And then, you know, then you basically prepare to do your skill. Now, before you do your skill, you have to do, like I said, you have to do a rapid head-to-toe assessment. So with a rapid head-to-toe assessment, the way I did it was I focused on heart sounds, lung sounds, bowel sounds. I checked pulses, capillary refill, and I did some cranial nerves. And then I assessed pain. And then after I did my head to toe, I also did strength of extremities, like arms, legs as well. And then after that, I went ahead and got my vitals. So I took my blood pressure, and it is a manual blood pressure. It's not an automatic blood pressure. So you need to make sure you know how to, you know, use your stethoscope and how to do a manual blood pressure. So you have to read what the manual blood pressure is and verbalize it. You have to count respirations, verbalize that. Make sure you're listening to full respirations, right? And then you have to take their pulse and count what their pulse is. So blood pressure, pulse, heart rate, and then with temperature, you know, obviously you're doing a mannequin, so you kind of have to like pretend that you're taking their temperature, you know, under their tongue with a little temperature machine. And then they will tell you what the temperature is, because obviously it's not a real person, it's a mannequin. And so you got your vitals, right? So you do your assessment, you get your vitals, and then you know, administer your medication if they have a medication that's needed to be administered. Make sure that you read the chart and read the chart carefully. And then you administer your med, go through your 6 rites, and then you administer your medication, and then you make sure you tell the patient, okay, I'm ready to perform this, you know, skill, right? It's a skill, right? But you say like, oh, I'm getting ready to, I have to put on a Foley catheter, or I have to trach suction you, or I have to do wound care, and then you kind of give your instructions on what it's for, you know, just very quickly, you know, oh, I have to administer, or I have to do this skill, or I have to do this. Is that okay? You know, make sure that throughout your NPIA, you're kind of like verifying the name and date of birth kind of repeatedly, like verify name and date of birth before you do your assessment, verify name and date of birth before you give your med, and then once again before you do your skill. You know, that's just kind of like a safety thing that you should do. That's my recommendation, right? So, and then you get ready. So for me, the skill that I got to do was wound care. And honestly, out of all the 3 skills, the easiest one is wound care. Now, when I was in Chamberlain, when I took fundamental skills, they didn't really teach us wound care. But wound care really is very simple and it's very basic. And like I said, it's the easiest one. So I was really lucky and I was relieved, to be honest. On VCAS, which for Chamberlain, that's virtual CAS. If you go to VCAS and you go to modules, you can find videos on how to perform skills. So it'll be videos with faculty showing you how to trach suction, how to put in a Foley catheter, how to do wound care, whatever. And so part of me preparing to do all of my skills, wound care, trach, you know, Foley, I was watching those videos and kind of relearning and retraining myself how to do these skills. Because honestly, like I haven't really done these skills since I took fundamentals, which was like last year. So I had to refresh, you know, like how to do these skills, right? And so there are videos that you can watch on how to perform those skills on VCAS. So you just have to look through modules, I think, and you should find them there. So wound care, I learned how to do it from videos, and I also learned how to do it from other students. Like I was kind of asking around, and I had different students like show me how they did wound care, and there's multiple ways to do it. Like trach suctioning, Foley catheter, there's very distinct steps, but with wound care it's a little bit like, it's kind of lenient, like the way you do it. I don't know how else to explain it, but basically I had different students that passed their NPIA show me different ways of doing wound care. So with that in mind, I really just kind of went with the video to be safe. So that's kind of my recommendation, is like if you're not sure, do what the video tells you to do. Like if you watch a video, do what that tells you to do. Don't do anything else. But the thing about doing your skill, all of the skills that you prepare to do, these are sterile skills, right? So the number one reason that people fail NPIA is because of they break sterility. Now, if you break sterility, it's very important that you verbalize that you broke sterility and you catch it. Okay, if you break sterility and you don't catch it and you don't verbalize it, then you fail. Okay, So a lot of people failed because they broke sterility and they didn't know, or they didn't catch it until the end, and then they realized that they broke sterility and they failed. I broke sterility when I did my NPIA, but I caught it and I verbalized it. And I say I broke sterility because I touched this by accident, you know. And so I was clear. I kept going and I did my skill. These are sterile skills. Now, obviously for me, I have big old man hands. So when you get your kit, you know, obviously you open your kit away from you and you kind of carefully take your gloves, your sterile gloves out. I used my own gloves because I have big hands, and you know, the gloves that come in the kit don't fit my hands. So I went through and I you know, put on my sterile gloves the way you should. And then I was kind of getting my supplies and stuff, and I got close to the patient, and then I went ahead and I performed my skill. So wound care, there's, like I said, there's a video on, there should be videos on VCAS on how to do it. So, you know, watch through that. I'm not going to explain how to do it because, to be honest, I need to go back and watch how to do it again. But it's very simple. I promise you, wound care is probably the easiest one. The other skills are a little bit more challenging. Foley and you know, trach suctioning. So those you really need to practice. I know I practiced those skills over and over again. But yeah, I went through my whole, you know, process of doing wound care. And then once I was finished, I got my supplies done. And then at the end, I had to go ahead and give an S-bar, like a quick S-bar of my patient to the faculty, which is kind of like the oncoming nurse. So when I finished, I basically just kind of gave an S-bar about the patient, just very general about the patient, who they are, why they're here, information from their vitals, anything that I could remember. Honestly, when it came time for me to give my S-bar, like, my mind was blank. Like, cause you know, doing NPIA, it was so stressful and nerve-wracking that honestly, she asked me for an S-bar and I was like I like blanked out. So I just kind of went with my notes that I took at the beginning. I went off of that. I gave my S-bar. I told them what I did. I did wound care. I took vitals, did their assessment, and just general stuff. I gave a medication, how much of the medication I gave, for what reason, you know, all of that. And then that was it. So all of those things that I just explained, you have to do it within 30 minutes. A lot of people ran out of time and they took too much time. I don't exactly know what happened to them if they don't, you know, if they ran out of time. But in 30 minutes, you need to do all of your skills. You need to do your rapid head to toe, medication, do your sterile skill. All of that needs to be done in 30 minutes. And I cannot stress that enough. Like, when you're in there, you need to be quick. And like, you cannot blank out for too long. For me, I did all of those things and I did it as quickly as I could. And by the time I was finished, I had like 5 minutes to spare. And that was when I gave my S-bar. But yeah, like, you need to be fast. Like, your rapid head to toe needs to be rapid. Like, you need to be taking like maybe I would say maybe 5 minutes to do your rapid head to toe. I would say, yeah, like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Your medication shouldn't take too long. All of it. So it sounds stressful, and honestly, it is kind of stressful, I'm not gonna lie. But I would definitely say that if you take the time to prepare, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty nervous when I did mine, but when I went in there, I did everything as fast as I could, and I caught any mistakes that I made or breaking sterility, all of that, and that was it. So I was glad that I passed. And so the key to passing is preparation. So going to open lab whenever you can. you know, preparing at home, all of that. You need to make sure that you have a rapid head-to-toe assessment down. Like everybody does. I feel like now as a student nurse now, like I have my own version of doing a head-to-toe assessment that I kind of developed. So you need to develop your way of doing a rapid head-to-toe so that when you go in there, you do it, and that it's fast enough for you to get it done in a timely manner. So that's another thing that you really need to be mindful of. And yeah, that's pretty much it for NPIA. And if you fail NPIA, you have to do a clinical learning contract. So it's between you and I think your professor and your clinical instructor. You have to like remediate your skills that you failed or whatever it was that you failed. I don't exactly know because I passed, so like not to sound mean or anything, but you know, it's like I don't really know because I mean, I can't relate. So like I said, I don't want to be mean, but yeah, like I think that's pretty much what you have to do if you fail. You have to remediate with your clinical instructor, you know, or your professor, and you have to, I think you have to demonstrate your skill with your professor. And honestly, if you fail NPIA, it is really not that bad. Like, it is not the end of the world. You know, you just have to remediate and do your clinical learning contract. Whatever they tell you to do, you have to do. And it's honestly not that bad. So if you fail NPIA, it's fine. Like, don't stress, don't worry. Like, you're fine. You know, you're gonna be okay. But other than that, for NPIA, that's pretty much it. If you have questions, please let me know if you have any questions about NPIA. And yeah, I'll do my best to answer them. And so in Adult Health 2, like I said, Adult Health 2 is the continuation of Adult Health 1. So it's really just all the same. Like, you have ATIs, you have EDAPs, you know, you have some assignments. I think there's an RUA, pretty sure there was an RUA that you have to do. It's all very straightforward. In Adult Health 2, you also have your CMS. So Adult Health 2, you have your CMS. So CMS, as I probably explained in the last video, it's basically your binder assignment that you have to do. CMS is done through ATI, and for Adult Health 2, you have to do your CMS over pharmacology. So make sure that you study with, you know, pharmacology. They give out a PowerPoint to help you study for CMS, and I think that kind of pretty much helps. When I took the CMS exam, and there were definitely information on the exam that were on the PowerPoint, so definitely study the PowerPoint that they give you for CMS. But I did my CMS, I did my practice exams for CMS, and I did my binder assignments, and I got full points. So once again, you make sure that when you do your binder, you do your ALTs and critical points for your binder for CMS. Make sure that you do it correctly and you organize everything correctly, and so that you get your points. That's really important. And it's pretty much the same as in my last video, and I think in my last video I explained way more about CMS towards the end of my last video, I believe. So if you want to know more, go back to that. But it's pretty much the same, but this time it's over pharmacology. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about were clinicals. For Adult Health 2, for my campus, you know, clinicals were, to be honest, they were pretty disappointing, because I had a lot of clinicals, a lot of my clinicals for Adult Health 2 were virtual, because we had a clinical site that we were supposed to go to, and for whatever reason, they never cleared us to go on site. So like weeks went by and we were doing virtual clinicals, and like you know, the session was going by and we still were not cleared to go to the hospital. And so like halfway through the session, we ended up getting news that our clinical site changed to another hospital, and it was on another day. So we were like, okay, like what the hell is going on, you know? It was pretty disappointing, I'm not gonna lie, but in the end, we got to go, we went through the whole process to go to the other hospital that we went to. And so we did all of the orientation stuff, and then we finally got to go to a new hospital, and we got to go in person. And so, and honestly, the hospital that we ended up going to, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was a really, really nice hospital. It was a really, really nice hospital. I really liked it. I liked all the nurses that I had for clinicals. And then I did my head-to-toe assessment check-off with my instructor. And yeah, clinicals were pretty good. And as far as like the whole thing about us not getting cleared and going through that whole process, we made sure to really tell our faculty and like really let them know, like, you know, we can't go through this again, you know. And so we really made sure to let our faculty know and say, hey, like, we need to keep our clinical sites consistent, because keep in mind, each session is only 8 weeks, and 8 weeks goes by really fast. And so getting us to different hospitals, you know, it sounds great, but you know, the whole process of getting cleared and going through orientation, all of that stuff takes time. So like, we need to keep our clinical sites consistent so that we don't have to do all of these virtual clinicals, you know, week after week, you know. And so we really made sure to give that feedback to our faculty, and they really listened to us, because this session that I'm in now, I'm at the hospital that I usually go to for clinicals, so, which I'm not complaining about, because sometimes, you know, sometimes with hospitals you have to pay for parking, and sometimes clinical sites are really far and all of that stuff. So yeah, as far as getting cleared, make sure that you are cleared, you have everything in order. I don't know why we were not cleared for the hospital, I don't know why we were not cleared for the hospital we were supposed to go to. A lot of it is really just the kind of politics between the hospital and the school, so I really couldn't say why, but in the end, we ended up going to a new hospital. The other thing that was, you know, pretty disappointing, but we ended up having to do a makeup clinical. And so I had to do one clinical day, and they sent me to do a clinical at a nursing home. So it was just one day. And so yeah, so for our makeup clinical, it was just one day at a nursing home. And the clinical instructor that I had for that was one of my old teachers, and so she knew me, and we were very cool. And my clinical instructor, thank God, she was very easygoing, like, it's okay, you know. And so I spent the day there at this nursing home. It was kind of not very eventful, you know. It's a nursing home. It's not like a hospital where it's more, there tends to be more action. But anyways, I went through that one day of makeup clinical, and then that was it. And so hopefully, for those of you who go to Houston campus or any Chamberlain campus, hopefully you don't have to go through what I went through. Like I said, the most important feedback that we gave to faculty is for us to keep our clinical sites consistent, because we cannot go through what we went through again. Like, that's just not fair to us as students. And so I think they really did listen to us, because like I said, my clinicals for this session, I'm back at the usual hospital that I go to. And so, like I said, I feel like they really listened to us. But hopefully this doesn't happen to any of y'all. I really don't, because like I said, it's not fair and it's not fun. But, you know, like I always say, it is what it is. So I just deal with it and go along, and, you know, I deal with it, but I complain the whole time. Anyways, but yeah, I went through that and I did it, and it's done, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to think about it anymore. But yeah, so as far as like what I mentioned, you know, make sure that you give your faculty feedback and let them know everything. And as far as this video, that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. I don't know, I do apologize for making this video so late, because as soon as this session started, we were just like rocking and rolling, and as you can tell, I don't have any more glasses because I got LASIK eye surgery. So yeah, I was dealing with that, and that's pretty much it. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you guys have any questions, please leave me a comment. Follow me on Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.